Okay, welcome back. And in this video, what we're going to look at is how do we consolidate some of our code so we don't have to keep kind of copying and pasting the same code on every single screen. So as an example, if I go in here, if I look at our album details page, if I scroll down, one of the things that we'll find is that we have to establish a database connection, and then we're going to turn on this exception handling so that we can see the errors. And if I scroll down a little bit on the page, I can see we do it again down here to populate our little option window, right? So if I look at, edit this, first we do one database connection to populate each of these fields, and then we do another database connection to populate this drop-down list. So that's a lot of, kind of duplicate code. There's at least 4 lines in this file that we're just kind of copying and pasting. And the same is true every single page where we make a database connection. So what we can do is we can actually consolidate our effort a little bit. So I'm going to create a file here. I call it db, right? So that stands for database.php. And I'm not going to put any actual HTML in it, but I am, however, going to build some PHP. And in here, I'm going to take this exact code that I've just been copying and pasting everywhere. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it in here. Okay. And then all I have to do is I have to reference this file every time I want to connect to the database, and it'll run these 2 lines of code for me. So let's try it out. So if I go in here and I'll say requires once db.php, hit save. Okay, so when we go to edit an album, it will call this db.php file. So this will load. It'll run in this PHP, right? So it'll create a connection to our database, and it will set up the error handling attributes. And this is useful to consolidate this. I mean, aside from the potential of error when you copy and paste things, what happens if I go to change my password one day? I mean, I'd have to go into every single file and change my password in every single file, or I can come to one file and do it in one spot. This is obviously a lot easier, a lot less error prone. And if I had new people working on the site, I just have to tell them, well, if you're going to make a database connection, just require this file. And they don't need to actually dig into it too much more. So let's hit save. Let's just go test this out now. So if I reload my page, still works. If there was a problem with that database connection, this should have failed. But let's just be on the safe side. Let's check it again. So if I hit edit, it still worked. Now, I used a method here called RequireOnce. There's actually 4 possible methods you can use to include a file. So one of them is called RequireOnce, which, as the name suggests, will only load the file one time throughout the entire PHP page. Or there's require, which will load the file as often as you want. And then there's include, which will also include the file as often as you want. Or there is include once, which will only load the file the one time. Now the difference between require and include is basically how it shows the errors. So require, if it cannot find this file, let's say I named it db2 by accident, what will happen is it'll throw an error. Okay, when it loads the page, it'll say, hey, I can't find this file. If you use include or include once, what happens is if it can't find the file, it just won't load the file and it'll keep going. So require is sort of a better standard, but there may be use cases where if they can't find the file, you don't want to show your users an error. I don't know, maybe you're loading some kind of just a simple footer or something, and it would be better just to be blank than to show an error, because an error might look unprofessional. But in the case of a database connection, if I don't get this database connection, my screen's not going to work, right? So I need this to function, so I use the require. So I'm going to show you another little nuance of using require once or include once. So as the name suggests, it will load this file one time for this entire PHP page. However, if I scroll down, sorry, if I scroll up, if I scroll up, we had another database connection up above. And if I use it up here as well, okay, so I hit save, it's only going to load this file the very first time the page is run. So any subsequent requests for database.php will not work on this page. So let's hit save and go look at our file. So last time we ran this, it worked fine. Now this time what's going to happen is we're using RequireOnce, and it's going to preload all of this album information. But when we get to the genre, it has to make a second database connection. So what will happen is it won't be able to, because it won't load that db.php file. So let me hit refresh. And you see how all of a sudden now our genre has disappeared? So it fails. So let's go back and change it from RequireOnce to just require. Hit save. Now when I reload the page, it works as expected. And then I can go through all the rest of my files here, and I'll just clean up everywhere that I had PDO, and I'm going to replace it with RequireOnce. And the way you can easily find things is you can search for PDO. Oh, this one's got a PDO. Save registration. Yep, there's another one. Login does not, and validate it does. Okay. I mean, once you make changes, you should always do a quick sanity check. So let's go through all of our use cases. Go from registration, test3 at test.com. Hit save. Oh, that's right. We took out our okay. Yes, that's fine. Because I tried to save the same user twice. So let's just go to our login page. And we'll try logging in with our user. Then we try to edit a file, and it looks great. Okay, so there you have it. We've now consolidated our database connection. Cheers.